everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thanks for turning up. Today we are going to talk about liquid staking, particularly the staking solution that's been built on Celo for the vecting staking protocol. So first I'm going to talk very briefly about who I am, what is Celo, why do we even need liquid staking at all, and then what are the challenges of building this liquid staking protocol and what are the problems they are actually solving. So first, very briefly about myself. I'm Argentinian born and raised, and we have like a big culture of crypto there. So I'm computer engineer in Buenos Aires. I've been involved with Celo, that is a company that is working a lot on Celo since 2019. Wore a couple of different hats, but now I work for the team that actually maintains Stake Celo. That's a protocol we're going to chat about the most here. And on the side, I also run a validator that is part of this proof of stake protocol that I'll describe. So first, a little explanation about what is Celo. Celo is a blockchain, currently an L1 with a plan to transition with an L2. The blockchain always have this focus on mobile first and usability. One of the key things that make it go mobile first is that you get a block every 5 seconds, and there's no reorg, so people can send transactions and choose from a mobile phone, being very sure that almost instantly it will turn up. We have a bunch of different validators supporting the network, and we have a couple of real use cases as well. We have the Valora wallet that they have been building on Celo since the beginning, and really recently Opera started building on Celo as well, leveraging our identity protocol. And as well, Celo has always had a focus on green initiatives. It's the go-to place for refi, and there's a big focus there. So even before refi was a thing, and in case you don't know, it's regenerative finance. So now let's talk about what actually is the title of the presentation, that is proof of stake. Proof of stake, the concept is people that have a stake in the network should be able to actually participate in decisions, and those decisions could be governance proposals for upgrades of the network, or could be validators. Who are the validators that run the set? And as a payment for that, as a reward for that, they get paid, both the validators and the voters. The voters get called something that is called a staking reward. That is a little yield that it's accumulated daily on top of their holdings. And validators also get paid daily in this special block that is called epoch. But there have some caveats, because if you want this to be safe and have like economical security, you need to impose some restrictions. Some restrictions are about how much yield you can get, but also what actually can you do with your asset that is staked. Currently, the protocol has a 3-day lock windows, and that means that after you lock your funds and you are free to vote for whatever validator or governance proposals, you cannot unlock your funds. And that is a problem that we will see later. So this is the journey of a Celo holder. This is particularly targeted to Celo, but this is true also for a lot of other chains that are implementing proof of stake. So first, a holder will get Celo. This could be like open market. They could get a grant. They could buy it. They could earn rewards, and then they get the Celo. If they want to participate in the proof of stake protocol, they will have to lock it. And with that lock it, they are agreeing to a 3-day window in which they cannot move their funds. Then they need to vote proactively for the validator they want to vote for, so they have an influence in the set of the 110 validators that validate the network. And whenever they want to get the funds back, they have to proactively stop voting, unlock it, and waiting for 3 days. So this is a challenge, because particularly in this last part, the user needs to know who to vote for. He has to remember to activate the votes, and then when he wants to log, he has to wait the 3-day periods. So this is the reason many protocols like this started out of the ecosystem to solve this particular challenge. Oops. So what are the issues with native staking? The main issue I see from my perspective is that the assets that are staked are not liquid. They are just not participating in the open market. They are not providing liquidity anyway. They are just sitting on a contract. They are securing the network, and they're getting some reward, but nothing can get built on top of that. It's difficult for a user to gauge what validators are actually secure and what validators are the ones that support more the network. And the users get a reward if the validators behave correctly. So for a user, is incentivized to vote for the savers and more stable validators, but at the same time, a common user that's allowed to ask for them. And what it's more, if a validator is down, that validator is not going to accumulate rewards anymore. So the user has to go and proactively check actively that the validators are actually online and they actually work. And this in practice doesn't happen. So for a lot of users that are staking, they're just staking for using whatever logic they wanted to use for staking. And then if that validator goes down, they just don't learn about it, and they're missing yield, and people generally don't get happy about that at all. And as I said, it's difficult to build on top, because that liquidity that is securing the protocol, but not in every other protocol, it's not every other contract, you essentially cannot do anything with it. So you can't, without a layer built on top, you cannot provide liquidity in Uniswap and voting at the same time. So here is a fundamental trade-off that the more liquid the blockchain gets, the less secure the validator set is going to be, and that's one trade-off that can be easily solved with that tool. And there's also this changing of the validators. If you want to deposit your thing in a smart contract, and then that validator goes online, then you need to do these whole things again and go stake in another contract. And I tried to explain this is in this slide. Do I have a laser? Oh, it's green over green, so it doesn't work. So if a user holds Celo and they want to go and use their assets in a smart contract, that smart contract can provide the functionality of locking and voting. So you'll be fine. You could be an implementation of a Uniswap pool that allows you to vote and pick what validator you want to vote for and earn rewards. That's great. The problem is that if you want to change your liquidity to another place, let's say instead of Uniswap, you want to go to SushiSwap, and then your funds are locked in that contract for 3 days. And something I didn't tell you before, that the system is created to incentivize people for voting. So when people are not voting, they are not getting rewards. So whenever people want to move their assets to another contract, they stop accumulating rewards. And in practice, it's a little more complicated because no one is there checking that exactly they unlock 3 days afterward. Usually a user unlocks, forgets about it, and then does the transaction whenever they have time, a couple of weeks later. So in practice, that's a problem. And then once they got their Celo back and they did the whole things end to end, they can go and deposit in another contract. And here comes Stake Celo. Stake Celo is, as the name of the talk, is a liquid staking protocol. And these protocol people can deposit their assets, and this contract is going to take care of everything else so that the user can earn rewards. The protocol gives you a token back, and that token doesn't have any sort of locking on anything related like that. You are free to move that token as much as you want and deposit in whatever you want, and your assets are going still earning rewards, are going to be secure on the side. So once you get this token, you can provide liquidity, or you can do whatever you want. You can do a stake for another stuff. There's currently a big push for an initiative that is called Eigenlayer that aggregates assets that are earning yield across many protocols. So this could be a token that could be used for that. Also, as I mentioned earlier, there are a couple of automated tasks that you need to, that happens in this protocol that you need to take care of manually. In the previous example, we saw that it was a line where you had to do sequentially one by one. But here with the Stake Celo, you can deposit Stake Celo, get the token back, And then the protocol, on your behalf, there is some sort of implementation of a account abstraction that just spoke before me, but way more simplified. And the protocol will automatically, we're using permissionless functions that truly everyone can call, but the protocol already has this baked in with a couple of bots. And it pays the gas for you, which is also nice. And then you log, and it also votes for the validator. It doesn't say it on the slide. So it accumulates yield. And with that, you have your assets, and you can do essentially whatever you want with it. There's also this feature where if you are depositing your assets in this address, you are delegating your assets, and then there's no reason this contract will allow you to vote for a particular validator or validator set. This feature was implemented on Celo a couple of weeks ago, so now you can choose for other validators. This is particularly interesting for big holders because they do want the liquidity, but also they don't want to give up their voting rights. If you're a big validator, you will presumably vote for yourself or for partners or for whatever you think is better for the network. And if the protocol doesn't give you that option, then it's not going to be suitable for you. What protocols usually do is like they gag something like top 10 more stable validators that you can vote for, and then vote for that. And this is like the default mode for stake Celo. So you can definitely do that without having to worry about it. Just deposit your assets there. But if you want to vote for your thing, you are actually able to. And this is what I showed you earlier. And what is good about this is that the assets here is Celo. And as I mentioned earlier, Celo has functionalities within the network. For example, you can vote on governance proposals. So one thing that you want to build on top, and this is also another similar concept to account abstraction, is that with your wallet, that you are securing the network and picking a validator and having a stake at it, you also want to participate on the things that are related to the protocol, like governance. Celo is fully permissionless, so everyone can propose a governance proposal, and it's like simple majority if that proposal for an upgrade to the network makes it in or not. And if you have your assets there, you will potentially want to get involved in the decisions of the network, and you can do that. What's nice about this is that now you have an interface with the user. It's just not a smart contract. You're building an app on top of this. So the tools that you build for the lab can be extended to support as many things as we want. And this is just an example of the things that you can do with the Celo that's there. But this could be extended so that essentially every other account abstraction use case that you wanted to use could be potentially implemented here. And this is the same for making it easier to pick your validator. This is the screen that we currently have in the app, where you can select the current validator. It tells you the default one is the default strategy that is currently voting for 7 validators, and you can pick whatever you want. And then the most exciting thing about this is the composability. That is what essentially one of the key features of the smart contracts, that once these tokens, a lot of things happens inside the Celo smart contract, but the important thing is you have a token that you can use for whatever you want. So for example, there's this protocol called Spirals. They are currently doing some yield enhancement protocol on Celo. I think the concept is that you deposit some assets that are good for the planet, like carbon credits or things like that, and that assets earn you some yield as a reward. But if you can deposit an asset that is also earning yield, you're kind of maximizing your rewards. And for example, if you're doing liquidity mining, you're minimizing your impermanent loss. So having assets that actually earn reward on the side is an interest. There's a quote that I was told in private that some people have this vision that every single asset that is out there will eventually become the derivative of the actually staking assets. For example, this person told me, and I somewhat agree, that in the future we are not going to use the ETH token or the Chainlink token. We are use a wrapped version that already accumulates the assets, and this is just a step in that direction. And also Mento, that is the project that is there at the bottom, is working on this. They are a stablecoin that is fully over-collateralized, and as part of the fees they collect, they have a treasury, and in that treasury, the community can pick whatever asset they can, and they are deeply involved on Celo, so they seek to hold Celo. But there's a burden because once you're a DAO and you need to actually do politics and pick who do we vote for, when are we activating these tokens? When you have multi-sigs, these things get really complicated. So the thing that was originally designed for a user to make it a lot easier is actually way applicable to a DAO, because in the DAO, I don't know if you have ever had to collect signers for a DAO. It's particularly a pain. So these holds it, and the good thing is that if a multi-sig misses a signature and they are late for something, here they're still earning rewards. And to finish up, just wanted to share a little bit of the numbers of the stake Celo. The protocol is relatively young. It was launched less than a year ago, but the Celo network is also relatively young, something like Earth Day 2020, so it's a little bit over 3 years ago in April. What these numbers show me is that the protocol is big enough so that we prove that it's traction, and there are people actually that use it. It peaked at $4 million total value locked, so we're pretty proud about it. But this is still a small fraction of all the Celo withstanding, and it's even a smaller fraction of all the Celo ecosystem, that is the complete market cap of the Celo ecosystem. So there's a lot of room for growth, and we will see where this will take us. There are still being 100 Celo distributed, which is something like a little bit over $50K. And we still, as I said earlier, the Celo network has 110 validators, and we only had 17 involved at this particular point. So we consider this key infrastructure for Celo at this moment, but also key infrastructure for any proof of stake protocol. And thanks for listening. If you want to contact me, that's my handle on Twitter, and that's my email. And I'm going to be around, so you know where to find me. Thank you.